Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the SBP, the Swim Bros Podcast. I am your host, Grant House, and the singular swim bro on this podcast, as Kyle House is joining us in spirit from across the country. So, Kyle, thank you for joining us in spirit. But I got a lot of different questions from some listeners last episode, and really interesting questions. I didn't expect to get these right off the bat. And really appreciate the feedback, really appreciate the commentary and the engagement from the listeners. So really excited about that. Stuff on regards to what it's like from being on a college team to now joining the pro team and going from an NCAA athlete to a professional athlete, for swimming's sake at least. The swimming world would know about this, but the Olympic trials ticket prices, pretty interesting aspect thus far. And then also just some unpopular opinions I have. So apparently people want to know about that. So hopefully I can spark some controversy on this one and get some people both astonished, shocked, outraged, and maybe pleasantly happy. Who knows? So we'll get to that at the end. But similar to last episode, I kind of want to start off, being an ASU alumni now. The Pac-12 near and dear, or former Pac-12, but ASU, regardless of whatever conference they're in, near and dear to my heart. So I want to start off on a similar trend as we did last week with new emerging reports from media sources. This is from the Bleacher Report, but again, going to be my own guy in the chair, as we would say for Tom Holland in the Spideyverse. But Stanford willing to join ACC at reduced or no media payouts for several years. Now, that is almost astonishing to me. Pretty crazy and very interesting. Obviously, they're private institutes, so maybe that's kind of why. Probably sitting on a lot of endowments, a lot of funding. But really interesting. Again, ACC predominantly being an East Coast team, a lot of travel fees, a lot of travel costs, a lot of transportation for athletes and families. And like we started off last, I really think the narrative needs to shift to asking these student athletes what they can do or providing insight. Obviously, the administration has a lot to do with organizing all these, but again, the athletes are the reason the game's happening. The game is not happening. The matches, the meets, the competitions aren't happening without the athletes. And I think we forget that a lot. But for Stanford to make this claim basically is just very insulting to the remainder of the Pac-12. Essentially, in my mind, just saying that why are we even a conference anymore? And it's really interesting that to go out of their way to say, basically we just don't even want to be in this grouping anymore. We see it as just not even useful, and we see a opportunity elsewhere with the ACC to be even more beneficial for us if we're not getting paid. So that's pretty crazy to me. And to also see that they're not asking for any media rights or media payouts, probably in light of the Pac-12 network being as atrocious as it has been with coverage of some of the best Olympic sports that the Pac-12 is dominant in: wrestling, golf, swimming. Only showing only a couple sessions of our Pac-12 meet. Stanford, renowned powerhouse in swimming, especially before 2000, early 2000s as well. But, some of the best athletes we've ever had for swimming have come from Stanford and the Pac-12 as well. So really interesting for Olympic sports overall. But Stanford, who recently went through a huge spiel of, cutting sports, bringing them back within the last several years. Really interesting to see them opt to take reduced pay and also no media payouts. So for a school cutting sports and then bringing it back, very interesting strategy, very interesting outlook. And for several years down the line, an unknown and ambiguous number. Really interesting to see how that impacts the landscape of what conference they join, if the ACC will still be a conference, and how many athletes are pursuing there. Obviously the academia will be prestigious at Stanford University, but we'll see what the athletics stand front looks like in years to come, especially if it's, athletes coming from the Bay Area, coming in state, which the state tuition cost for California schools is very generous, very ideal, and a large reason why a lot of California athletes and students stay in town. And so I think it's really an important aspect to kind of track this as time goes on and to see how this unfolds. And only time will tell, just like we're pursuing the landscapes with NIL, we will see what opportunities prevail themselves, not even just for athletes, but now different schools, and above that, the NCAA, and what the Power 5, Power 4, Power 3, maybe it's just going to be an East-West Bowl, Key and Peele style, Hingle McCringleberry, Stanford University. That'd be a tagline. So we'll be interested to see what it's going to turn into. I think it'll just eventually turn into a professional landscape with a cut in half, basically east-west, north-south, whatever you want to shake it out to be. But it's going to be interesting, how this is going to change in 5-10 years, if the NCAA is even around, what conferences are even around. Is there a players association? Is there a player union? What is really going to happen? There's going to be a lot of shakeup, and the remaining leaders from Stanford, California, Oregon State, and Washington State really seeing what opportunities are available, because now that the decisions have been made, the ball's kind of in their court to figure out what they want to do, where they want to move, and what's going to be best. Obviously, Washington State and Oregon State, in my mind, have a little bit less foundation to stand off of, but who knows? Maybe they can surprise some people, shake up, and become the next powerhouse in football, basketball, or, hey, they want to drop into swimming. Please, love another program to be added out there. But that's that for conference NCAA news. Just some kind of shakeup with some press released. That was, again, from the Bleacher Report, and some other notable resources as well, really some other headlines too. But that's the main gist of that. And so on to some of the questions that I was sent after the last episode. Joining the college team 6 years ago, 6.5, 6, and going through that process, and now being still at Arizona State in Tempe Town, ASU, and joining the pro team here, about 15 or 14 people strong, very stout, deep, and amazing group of individuals for sure. I'm very grateful to be here, and to, I like to think, be a large reason with Coach Bowman and Herbie why there's a lot of tracking with the pro team here now for the success that ASU's had and the athletes we brought in, but also the success that we've had too. So it's definitely an uplifting aspect to see that every day and to see the college team. It's very cool. But, the summer was definitely an interesting aspect. Definitely a little bit of limbo, a little inception action, kind of transitioning from, being a part of this entity for 6 years, and then really tapping into this idea and this entity of doing it for myself and doing it for me, and really what I want out of the sport. And I think a lot of us want immediate results. And for me, I think it's, yes, the immediate results, but also looking at the long game. Like, I'm only 25 years young, and I feel like I enjoy the sport more than I ever have, and I'm getting better results than I ever have, and at an exponential level. I've really come when I've had a lot of change. Starting St. X, amazing year. Short course and long course. Starting ASU, a pretty good year, short course, and then even better, exponentially long course in 2018. And then continuing on, seeing success every year after that. It's really interesting. And then to get to Herbie's group and to kind of right the ship again, per se, get back to some more best times, some of my personal best times, and then really excelling the season after 2020 to 2021, seeing success at Olympic trials, and then also really just blowing up on my short course season for me and my personal success. I don't think I shattered world records or anything like that. I know I didn't, and I did personally best for what I consider and for my process. And that was really cool to see that improvement in such large percentiles across that time after so many years in the sport. And, to get to this point now, like, the summer was pretty challenging, a very, very adverse phase. But, I really sat in this couple months of really trying to figure out where I was, what I wanted to do. Is this still what I wanted to do anymore? And really kind of got stuck in this spot. And I think it was really just because of how much energy this last 6 years has taken out of me, and how much I wanted to give too, like how much I wanted to put into this process of creating a powerhouse that is now ASU, that we are having world champions come and swim on our team, and we are producing world champions as well. So that's a huge aspect for what I've wanted to get out and put into this university as well. Ideally, I'd love for it to be me. I'd love for it to be the Olympic champion, the world record holder, the world champion, but that hasn't happened yet. And that's okay, because I've improved. I've seen a lot of the world. I've made great friends, and I've, most importantly, seen actualize greater versions of myself every year and every season, and learn something new every season. So I think that's really powerful. I think I didn't value that enough when I was younger, especially, coming into college, very bright-eyed and eager, having captains telling me to slow down and warm up and take it easy, to the point now where just a nice loose and 200 is what gets the job done for me. So we've come a long way. So as most of the listeners hopefully had tuned into the Captain Series, thank you, Andrew, Pat, Reed, CeeLo, for enlightening me on proper warm-up logic and etiquette. So, but it's been an interesting aspect. I think there's been this, what I was really journaling the other day was this trough of adversity, and now moving into this wave of success. And really, when we reflect on our own journeys, and when I reflect on my own journey, that's really the amplitude of life. We have these troughs of adversity, the bottoms, and then we get to the crest, the highest peak that we may have. But it's all just this frequency that keeps repeating. And for me, that trough of adversity has felt like a wave of success, just because it just felt like I was so bogged down, dealing with lack of motivation and drive for really the first time ever. I think most people knowing me, I'm a very type A, go-getter type of guy. And to have the drive and motivation aspects and issues and doubt was unique for me. Was very unique for me, and it was different. It was a different side of me that I had to work on. And, I think a lot of the wave of success, I think a lot of people forget this part. And this is so huge. This next part is, and I kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit too, is, this wave of success that I'm feeling, at least, and I'm experiencing. I had what I perceive as a great meet at Irvine, some best times, actualizing my greatest self, and just the day-to-day, waking up, going to bed, happy with who I am, proud of who I am, enjoying it, seeing my friends, seeing the world, going out what I'm doing, pursuing my passions. Like, at the end of the day, those are what set the great achievements in line. It's not once we achieve great things that everything else is going to become in alignment. And really, this wave of success is thanks to that trough of adversity and the work that was going on during that adversity phase, and recognizing that and journaling that. That's how I remind myself, and having people in my life that remind me of that constantly. Jack Little, Alexander Gusev, Jacob Hemmerly, the best swim bro, Kyle House, and really just leaning on them and being super grateful for what they have to offer me. And it's really that work during that adverse phase that it didn't seem like a straight line exactly. It didn't seem like success was being made, but the wave of success that you now see, and maybe it's a month, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a couple of days, maybe it's years. Had that thought too. Maybe this wave of success is just a little crashing before the big tsunami hits. So who knows? You never know. But you just got to balance and keep riding that frequency and the different amplitude from trough to crest of adversity and your successes. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. Really grateful for it, and just the time since Indianapolis Nationals, taking 3 weeks off and giving my mind, body, spirit, and my body. I'd say I got a lot of rest in the phases of taper into Indy, and notice how strongly I responded to that. And then going into Irvine again and getting another bout of rest, really how much that did for my body. And, just hopping in the water, I would get 200 to 500 meters in and just kind of lose motivation. Just nothing was strenuous, nothing was hard, but I just lose the drive and motivation. It was really peculiar to me and really perplexing as well to figure that out, and just to deal with that, just to wrestle with that, and to have to balance that obstacle and to learn along the way, because it's not what I'm typically used to. It's typically Coach Bowman telling me to calm down, or to chill out, or not to do more. That was a discussion we had before Pac-12s and after Pac-12s, or mainly after and before NCs, of, Grant, I just want you to do nothing. And sometimes that's hard for me to do, but really listening to his mentorship and Herbie's as well, getting into that orientation of balancing and putting, all the eggs in one basket and just focusing on that, being present with that rather than trying to do everything when it's really going to start to subtract. I'm a big believer in addition by subtraction, and sometimes I think a lot of the listeners will know by now that I'm not really a big New Year's resolution guy. I think that's very overblown and overrated. So maybe that's my first unpopular opinion. But for me, it's really been subtracting what I'm doing and finding what I can provide more quality to instead of expanding into more quantity. And so that's my method of self-improvement a lot the last couple of years. But yeah, I've really found this good groove afterwards, moving into this new phase of professional swimming or pro swimming, non-collegiate swimming, and really leaning into myself more, what makes me better, and not just kind of super colliding with these other journeys, other processes that other people are on, and just trying to figure out what's new for me. Like, it's very uncomfortable. The pro group started back a week before I joined, and I didn't even know because I didn't even check the group message because I just really check out. Like, one of the biggest things is I just tune out the people who need to know where I'm at, and everyone else, like, I'm sorry. Not really. I know I'm not sorry, but better luck trying to reach out to me. You'll probably have to FaceTime me or call me if you want to connect with me or find out where I'm at in the world. But I had to laugh. I didn't even know the week of training had started. I was still at home. I was doing a swim clinic with Josh Flagel and in St. Charles, Columbus, Ohio. And so that was a great experience and great time at home. But just kind of came back. And, this week I'm doing singles. The group did it last week, but I'm doing singles Monday through Friday, weekend off. And really just trying to keep reminding myself it's a great practice every day of what is going to make my long-term game. What is going to make me best in 11 months? What is going to make me best in 4 years and 11 months, ideally? And to seeing what I can really do when I lean into my process and rather than always following into a constraint of an NCAA season. So it's very challenging. It's very hard every day. It's very sometimes there's some doubts, but the last 4 practices I've been with the pro group, just really leaning into myself, focusing on my details and my development, and just leaning on other people for competition, advice, and mutual respect and support along the way. Getting to train with Jay and people like that every day is really exciting. Xander Skinner, very uplifting. See a smile every day and get support and a hug, and just kind of go through this journey together is very uplifting. And to really focus on this aspect of do I want to be the best right now, or do I want to be the best in 11 months? And I think I got away from that a lot in the last couple of years. And after training with Herbie, I really think that the way you organize it, you can be fast now and faster later. You can be better now and better later. You don't have to have them exclusively one or the other. I think there's a time to train and there's a time to perform. But I also think those kind of super collide and those interconnect, and the invisible thread that ties those together is each person's individual process. What works for Chase doesn't work for me. What works for Reagan doesn't work for me all the time. But do we do similar sets? Yeah, we've done the same sets the last 4 days. And will we do the same sets all year? No. Will they do the same strokes on all their sets? No. And I think that's most important for athletes to really tap into. And I think it's hard at an early age because then you just feel like you're ignorant, cocky, or stubborn, and athletes need to listen to their coaches. So this all started with a conversation with Herbie before I got back in the water, and I actually came to a practice and then talked with him afterwards to set out my tentative plan, see what our thoughts are, and to kind of organize our general outline and be on the same page, because that's one of the most important things is I think whenever I haven't communicated my feelings or thoughts with Bob or Herbie, that's when I've had the most internal distress. And just really breaking down that wall finally, that personal win, that personal development to open up the communication as wide as I can, regardless of what I might think they have or thoughts of me, and just communicating how I feel and what I'm thinking and what the process might look for me in my mind and what's going on up there in my heart and soul. And then just talking it out with them and breaking it down as to how can I be the best version of myself. I'm not representing ASU, the school, anymore, and just really representing Grant House and trying to make the these Team USA teams and actualize the greatest version of myself. Maybe I go a 142.9 and two other people go 140, 142.7, 142.8. I think I'm going to be pretty happy still at the end of the day, even if I'm not representing Team USA on an individual event. And so that's something that has definitely brought a lot of joy into my heart. And maybe this is a soapbox at this point, but I hope this answers the question and gives some more insight into the dynamics, the mental states, the physical states of the pro and college transition of, once you get out of the NCAA season, there's really no defined constraints of the season, starting in August with practices and going till March. Now it's a whole 12 months. It's a longer duration, and I think that bodes to be a more gradual and moderate increase. And I think that's one thing that I've never done in the past. And when I have done it in the past and seen it, I've really seen great results. And so really leaning into that aspect of being more gradual with it and being more tentative with training per se and executing it and being present rather than always adding on more is something that I really want to lean into now that I have the opportunity. And I think one of the aspects too is I think it's always been the case, but I'm really recognizing it now that I don't have the team kind of to buffer the safety net around me. And it's that really it falls a lot on me. My process is ownership with me and then the people that I want to work with, Herbie, Bob, ASU, the strength coaches, dietitian, Erica Biney, these different individuals that I'm grouping together, dietitians, Don Weatherwax, these individuals that I want to collaborate with and work with to uplift myself is really kind of what I'm leaning into right now. And in the words of Tim Bierman, certified GOAT of high school coaching and just life experiences, a monk, literally, served in a monastery for several years, and my teacher at St. X and head coach my last 2 years, and also the head director of the ministry at St. X, taught me meditations class, but he told me in my last visit home to really lean into Grant and lean into the joy. And that's something that I've been journaling every day and focusing on. And I can positively say that thanks to that message, I have been more than ever. And that makes me a happy clam, as they say, simply put. So hopefully that answers that a little bit. And transitioning into the next topic is Olympic trials tickets. We talked about the 11-month plan. Why 11 months, Grant? Well, I'll tell you, 11 months is the U.S. Olympic Trials 2024 in Indianapolis. All great racers go to Indy. Stamp it. Put it on my gravestone. Inject it into my veins. Tattoo it. Wherever you want to put it. It's just a fact of life at this point. And what some people might not realize is the Indianapolis Olympic Trials is actually not going to be at IU Natatorium, formerly known as Ooey Pooey, and it will be actually in Lucas Oil Stadium, which is just electric, the absolute electric factory. Doing flip turns in the tutties, flip turns in the end zone. Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, just catching dimes as I do these flip turns for 100 freestyle and 200 freestyle. And for those milers, they're going to be racking up the receiving yards. That's for sure. So it'll be cool. It'll be neat.
You like that.
It'll be nice to be back in the Midwest grit for Olympic trials. No Omaha steak, no Omaha meats anymore, but I guess we'll replace it with some good old corn. So corn and basketball. But excited for that. And some of the talk has been that the Olympic trial tickets have just been exponentially overpriced. And it's really, I think, taking away from the viewership of the sport. I think there's a lot of people that are hesitant to buy them because they can't afford them. They can't afford these full session passes. And I think it really falls on USA Swimming to kind of recognize that, see their demographics. Yes, Carmel, Hamilton Southeastern, Fishers, Indianapolis, some people like those direct communities will be able to pay for it, but it's not all too often that these athletes are all going and going to have support there. And I think the aspect too that swimming professionally is not the most financially supportive option that a lot of people can do. Like walking out of college, I had at least two job offers of over $70,000, and I'm not saying that to brag, but it's just reality. Like if you're a swimmer and you're an athlete, and you're an athlete of any kind, you have options. And if you hold yourself to a high standard, like I choose to do, then you have a lot more options. And for me to kind of put that aside because I want to pursue my dreams and passion, like a lot of people would laugh at, like, oh, wow, that man, he doesn't get it. What is he thinking? Idiot sandwich, as Gordon Ramsay would say. So, but that's just, I don't know. For me, this is what I want to pursue in my life. And when there's athletes that don't have that option and come from harder backgrounds, where their families can't afford these things all the time, or they can't afford full sessions, or maybe it's just a day that they can come watch, that'd be great if it is. But I really think to increase the viewership, engagement, interactions with the fans, that they need to begin to understand what's going to put butts in seats, simply put, from a branding and ticketing sales, ticketing engagement, revenue options, and really learning from what I gained in the MSLB program this year, the Sports Law and Business, where the issue is really finding that threshold, that graph where it's too high and too low of, okay, if I put the price ceiling too high and people aren't going to buy them, but if I put it too low, I'm leaving some on the table. But really seeing what can be offered, I think in the next couple months, I think they just need to be gradually bringing it down so they can kind of track who's actually going to be at the meet, who's going to be there. Because when the athletes get there, they book their tickets by qualifying. I'm going. I fortunately know most of my family's going, but I also know that they paid a price for the tickets that is probably going to be quite different than when we get to the actual meet, hopefully. And for the athletes' perspective, hopefully these seats are packed. Like for the sport of swimming, that'd be huge. I think anyone gets more. Well, I wouldn't say anyone, but I know I get more excited when you see an electric environment and lean into that. And yeah, it's a little nervous, but nerves just mean you care, and your body doesn't differentiate between excitement and nerves. And if you can blend those together and make that as one, and just recognize this as excitement, then your outcome is going to be a little bit better, if not a lot better. So, and I think it'll just be better for the sport of swimming, for the future generations too. If they can have more people in there, Hubie Koss, there was a really cool, unique aspect in an infographic or picture or video. I don't exactly know where it was, but he was at the World Championships when he was just a wee little lad, and he's just like maybe like 10 or 13, I don't even know, 8, 6, whatever it is. But now he's the world champion, and that's pretty incredible to see. Like, you see those storybook moments, and to see those aspects of these athletes actualizing these dream accomplishments, and he got to do it. Like, he's one of them living it now. And, to have that inspiration, that fuel, I'm not going to say it was all because of being at the World Championships, but it plays a part. You can't deny that. It was a part of his journey, part of his process, and an experience that he'll never not have. He'll always have for the rest of his life. And now he'll be a world champion for the rest of his life. Certified Savage Bar right there. So, Hubie, congrats on the World Championship. And also, wholesome moment of the meet, being at the World Championships and then winning the World Championships. Folks, you don't see that every day. You don't see that. So that's my kind of thoughts on the Olympic trials tickets. Not too in depth. I think it's just very simply put, they're too expensive right now. And if we want to value viewership and engagement for the sport, we need to put that at the forefront. So there's that. Now we get to some unpopular opinions from me. Just got to go through these pretty quick. Unpopular opinion number 1. Graders. Best ice cream in the world. Undefeated. No chance there's a refute there. Waffles. Better than pancakes, and waffles better than pancakes, and the average pancake is better than the average waffle, though. So take that for what you will. Stevie Wonder, not blind, faking it, totally faking it. If you're questioning me, if you're wondering, if you're astonished right now, if you're laughing at me on the other side on your drive to the swim workout, when you get to your swim workout, just get on YouTube and Google Stevie Wonder catching falling microphone on stage. So there's that. I'll let you do the Google wormhole search on that one. Pineapple goes on pizza. pineapple goes on pizza. And for the people in the back again, pizza should have pineapple on it. So, and then also I feel like it's a semi-unpopular opinion. Backwards hats, better look than forwards hats. Slowly realizing I need a haircut and I need to have a backwards hat on right now with this rockadoodle flow I got going on. But yeah, much more of a backwards hat person. And then Arizona tap water, I think this is pretty common for Arizonians. But for anyone outside the state, doesn't understand until they have it. So those are essentially just a couple of the unpopular opinions I have. If you want to hear more, let me know. But for now, I think that's sufficient. So we'll go into some of our more known segments, I'd say. Just, you might know I'm a starting quarterback in the league. Kirk Cousins, take it away. So you like that I had recently was Brent Rudemiller, the former at this point. I think he stepped down and has a different role, but former CEO of Swimming World, sent me a video link from an interview I had from when I was about 14 or 15 years old, I think my freshman year of high school, following high school state at Ohio, the hub of the universe, Canton, Ohio, McKinley High School. The most electric state meet there is, like hands down. If you haven't been, get there before it breaks down, even though they've just put some renovations into it. But electric meet, very exciting as a young swimmer, and for any high school swimmers going there, Godspeed, and certainly one of the most exciting meets you'll have in your entire life. I can promise you that, especially your first couple years. But he sent me an interview I did with Jeff Cummings on the morning swim show, on the morning show, Swimming World, with them, and it was unique. I'm on the podcast now. Maybe that was the precipice to make me start that. I don't know. I'll have to check with Kyle, but what his ideas or thoughts, or if that had any influence. But really cool to see the dynamic, and just like a proud moment of where I came from and then where I'm at now, and to be having a podcast, over 50 episodes in, and really trying to give back to what I received and help uplift me so much, from Swimming World, and seeing people like Brett Hawk now, and also just a lot of influences, but just to kind of reflect on the last 10 years now, like that's 10 plus maybe, 15 to 25 or 25 to 14, whatever it was at the time. But really unique to see like a decade of time, and just the transition of, seeing myself in the camera here and then hearing myself, and just seeing the changes, and just understanding, in those glimpses and those moments from A to B, just seeing the invisible thread again, like we talked about earlier, really just connecting those and just getting to relive a lot of memories. So that was a cool one. That was my You Like That of the week. And then lane line ratings. I'm going to rate this one a 10 out of 10. It's from the eldest swim bro, and it was a reminder that he gave to me recently in the last month, and I set it as a reminder that night. I don't know if it was a text or if it was over call, what it was in person, but he just said, acknowledge the small wins. So every day, 7 p.m., a reminder comes up on my phone, and it says, make sure to acknowledge the small wins, small victories, and then dash Kyle. And it's always just a great reminder of what you can accomplish in the day. Some days they're big. Some days they're very, very small. Just going through the day with a positive mindset. Maybe that's it. That was it yesterday for me. And, really executing, like, did I do the best in practice? No. But did I focus on what I needed to? Yep. And that was a win. That's a win. I cooked a full day of meals. That was a win. Meal prep. That was a win. Read 10 pages in 3 books. Big wins. Reading 1. Big win. Starting my CSCS for Certified Strength Conditioning Trainer. Win. Just getting on the process. Putting it off for a long time and really trying to string days together. And to quote another Jim Browerism, my former coach and great mentor at St. Xavier High School as well. Never had him for math, but wish I did. Wish I did have you for math, Jimbo. But just stringing days of these small wins. And if you fall off, folks, if you get 4 days in, well, you can go 4 again. So make it 8 next time. And then when you get to 8, make it 20. After 20, All right, you had 20 days. Good on you. Good on you, mate. And go on for 30, whatever it is. Then the next one, 31. 31 and a half after that. After that, you get to the end of the year, and you realize you've got a pretty big thread that you can look back on as evidence of improvement in action. So I think that's really incredible. I think that's really unique, and it's been an aspect that I've really leaned on a lot. So I appreciate you, Kyle, always and forever. And just a note to everyone, remember the small wins. Remember the small wins in life. So I think that's really important. I think that's really a takeaway that everyone can do. And I'd say my hot take this week. The Olympic trial tickets were pretty hot, but I'm gonna go with this. I watched the Reds play last night. I watched Graham Ashcraft. You can change the letter on the third letter in that his last name to something else to basically exemplify what I actually think of the dude for how well he can or can't play. But last night he was dealing. He was dealing with the Angels. Gave up 3 runs pretty early on, 2 back-to-back actually, so pretty atrocious. And then just Kyle turned. He sent me the text. Is it facts now that Kyle is an instant performance increaser for the Cincinnati Reds? He's batting 1,000 there, 1-1. But send me a picture, so I'm tapping into the game now. I'm watching. I'm locked in. He was on Swamp Kings. I got to check that one out. One of my friends sent me a video that it was, I think that might be a You Like That or a Landline rating coming up here on the next episode, but looked electric. These guys going to lift weights at 2 a.m. rather than going out to the clubs. Yeah, club swole. That's where I want to be at. But yeah, my hot take. Reds are making the playoffs. And they're going to win a game. I haven't seen that one yet. So they're going to win a game. They're not just going to make the playoffs. Maybe it'll be a wild card. They're going to win their playoff game. They're going to put Abbott on the mound. They're going to deal. They're going to bring Hunter Green in as a reliever because they're not taking any chances. They've got Matt McClain, Ellie De La Cruz, TJ Friedel, and they're going to roll. I'm confident. We just got to get past the Brew Crew. They decimated us. But hot take is Graham Ashcraft dealt 10 straight strikeouts last night. Absurd. That's got to be some record after giving up 3 home runs. And then the Reds, I just have confidence. They're a fun team to watch. Even if they don't make the playoffs, it's still going to be a scorching hot take because everyone's just always against Ohio, but Ohio against the world. And that's my hot take. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it gets you to practice, maybe on the way back home too. But I've enjoyed spending my time with all of you and looking forward to more episodes, more listeners. We are going to have a re-release of our best episode coming out soon with the PFT commenter, Barstool Sports, folks. So get your oven mitts ready because that was a scorching episode. One of our all-time favorites. We're going to get Matt Martinez, former coach at the Pink Dolphins in Australia, shout out, and then California Berkeley, and now current assistant coach at the Wisconsin Badgers. So very exciting to have him on. Looking forward to it. A great friend of mine, ASU alumni. Shout out, Forks Up. Devil Badgers. The Devil Badgers connection is strong. So going to have him on. Going to get newly anointed Louisville assistant coach Trevor Maida on the podcast as well. And we're going to see if we can get a couple other young up-and-coming coaches on here too. See what they're moving and shaking in the world of swimming. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for listening. Leave a 5-star review. Go to the link tree in any of my accounts if you want to check out what I'm doing, any sponsorships I'm doing as well. Check out Erica Biney for some DNA wellness testing and improve your health as well as your performance in swimming, in life, parenting, whatever it may be. I think health is the biggest commodity we have in life, and you can always invest in your health. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your swim practice. Enjoy whatever you have on the docket after listening to this. But thanks for listening. Live life daily, and hope you enjoyed.